Dhani watches a lot of television and movies. John does not. Listen in as she tells him about what she's watching, and he tries to make sense of it all. Welcome to Watching My Stories with Dhani and John.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome to Watching My Stories.
I say good day, sir.
Sayamo Dhani.
I'm John.
I think I said that wrong. Isn't it Soyama? I think I said... I don't know.
I got to be honest, I
Whatever.
wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't know how to speak any other language, so I'll just shut up now. Anyway.
Well, at the start of a podcast, that's a bad idea.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Merry...
We're a week away
yes.
from Christmas.
Yep.
So in that light, I've got some movies, TV to cover, and then instead of an actor's corner, I wanted to highlight what I think might be some underrated Christmas movies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everyone I think knows all the classics or whatever, but there are some that I love to watch every year that maybe other people haven't seen or don't know about. I saw a weird story on Facebook. You know, you'll scroll through and they'll be like top list of blah 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 or whatever, and there was a story that was like, if you're feeling nostalgic, here are the best 80s holiday movies to watch. And I thought, feeling nostalgic? And it was a picture of Christmas Vacation, and I was like, who's not watching that every day during, you know, like, just again, those people who don't watch movies more than once,
Mm-hmm.
which is a weird concept to me and always has been.
Well, and most people don't watch as much television as you do.
No, I get that, but the fact that people don't watch anything more than once, that's a very strange thing to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I've never actually met anyone in real life that does that, but I do know they exist out there. They may not watch them like as much as I do, but I've never met anyone who's like, oh God, I would never watch something a second time.
There are purported sightings and blurry photographs of the people who only watch stuff once.
That's exactly. Okay, so time for John's joke corner.
No. So we can.
He's sucking at this. He has one job. And it started out great a couple months ago, and every week since then,
yeah, and now
it's
the
like he's
pressure is on.
surprised that he has to do it, and he starts looking 30 seconds before.
That's my attention span, and I feel like I've been pummeled with electronic tomatoes, so now I'm a little gun shy. So they're
not your jokes.
Well, I know.
So if you picked out the wrong one, yeah, that's on you. But it's not like it's your fault that it's a bad joke.
Well, truth be told,
you can't even steal people's jokes correctly. You can't do anything.
I suck so bad. I can't even steal the right joke. These are dad jokes.
Yeah.
So they're going to be groaners anyway.
Not always.
Well, for the most part.
Just last time.
Okay. All right. Well,
let's give it a shot.
In all seriousness, I didn't find any that made me chuckle, so I don't know how else it's going to go. But
I set up too quickly, I guess. I didn't give you enough time.
Yeah, you're way too efficient at what you do. So I do have one, and here goes.
Vis-a-vis the following.
So there was this... Wait.
I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead. So...
There was this dyslexic guy. And
this isn't funny.
He went to the doctor, and the doctor said, great news, I have a solution for you. It's through song. And the guy says, that's great. That's music to my arse.
I don't get it.
He's dyslexic.
Right?
Arse. It's the same letters as ears. It's just in different... Oh, boy.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
I don't think it's nice to make fun of dyslexic people.
It's not making fun of them.
It's not?
I don't think so. Oh, maybe. You know what? Strike that from the record then. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, I think we might take a break from this segment for a while.
Well.
I think we just hit bottom.
You mean?
I think cancel culture is upon us.
I landed on my arse.
Oh my gosh.
Well, okay, so one of two things needs to happen. We need just wait.
Are you telling this to yourself?
Well, maybe.
Okay.
Saying it loud so it sticks. I either need to do some actual research and find good jokes.
That was the point of the whole thing from the beginning. But let's try it now.
All right. All right.
This is no good.
Or I need to stop.
Yep. I'm glad you deduced your options.
Nailed it.
Okay.
Oh boy.
Wow.
So the joke wasn't funny, but that was a good time. And I apologize. I'm not making fun of. I did not intend to make fun of.
Okay. We're gonna move on.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. There's nowhere to go but up from there.
Yeah, probably.
All right. So let's get into movies.
Sure.
First movie I saw, the big one of the weekend, Spiderman: No Way Home.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like it made like $250 million this weekend or something.
And it's only in theaters.
Right.
Yeah.
And compare that to like West Side Story last weekend for $10 million. So anyway,
people were saving their money for Spider-Man.
Yeah. For who?
Spider-Man.
So there's not much I can really say without spoiling. So I'm just going to say this. A lot of people came out of this movie and they're like, oh, it's the best Spider-Man movie ever. It's the best, it could be the best MCU movie ever, blah, blah, blah. I'm not in agreement with that. I loved it. It's great. It's another, again, I love all these stories, and I'm super thrilled with this one because we are going in a whole new direction with this multiverse thing and everything, and so it was awesome. And I also feel like we saw Peter Parker grow up in this one. In the previous ones and in the Avengers movies, he's always been able to still be that Peter Parker in high school, and while I love that part of him, and that is it's true Peter Parker, this one, he had to make some really tough choices, and he had to come into his own instead of, always calling Tony Stark or calling Happy or he had to take care of his own mess in this one, which was also really great to see that character evolve after his 3 movies and all of that.
Sure.
It was action-packed. Incredible action. We all kind of have heard the speculation of who was going to be in this. I'm not going to confirm or deny because it is still the first weekend, so I'm not going to ruin anything for people who still haven't gone out to see it. But lots of fun dialogues between a lot of these characters. Just really cool stuff going on. I don't know what else. It's set up really well, and it's a great ending to this first trilogy. We've learned there's another 3 Spider-Man movies coming, and again, it leads us into this multiverse that we're going to see in Doctor Strange and all of that. So awesome. I mean, I love Tom Holland. I think he's perfect for this. I didn't make it very far with the Tobey Maguire things. I'm not a fan, and Andrew Garfield is the amazing Spider-Man, and Tom Holland's been my Spider-Man, that I just clung on to and I've just loved and adored, and he's so good in this, and it really is. It's emotional and funny and action and everything. So
sure.
I'm trying to give a good review without ruining anything, which I think is really hard, but I'm trying to think if there's anything else to point out. Happy, of course, is in it. May is, of course, in it.
Aunt May being Marissa Tomei?
Yes.
Hot dog.
Yeah, so all I'm going to say is, obviously, if you're a fan, you're going to go see it. And you won't be disappointed whatsoever. I'm really thrilled, or not thrilled, but I'm very excited / intrigued to see the next part of what happens in the story, because they've left it in such a place where what is going to happen now, so yeah, very interesting.
That's one of the things they do best, Marvel, is set themselves up for the next one, and instead of you leave a lot of movies and you're like, yeah, if they do another one I'll watch it or whatever. Right. and these they leave it in such a way you're like, oh, I can't wait for the next one.
Right. Oh, for sure.
Huge difference.
And they get us with the end credits.
Sure.
And these end credits, both of them were leading us into these next things. I mean, it's just, yeah. And again, I'm also still watching Hawkeye, which I think ends this week, the last one. And that's been a really great series. And I'll talk about that on the next podcast. But,
Okay.
you know, they just know what they're doing. And I don't know how they keep it all together, but they do. And it's incredible.
Good.
Yes.
So it's a highly recommend.
For sure.
Okay.
Definitely.
Great.
Okay, next one I'm going to talk about is Encanto, which means charm. So this is the latest from Disney. All the music is by Lin-Manuel Miranda. It stars Stephanie Beatriz as Mirabel. John Leguizamo's in there and a whole bunch of people. This is set in Colombia. And this is another just spectacular feeling thing that Disney has put out. It's again, you know, we sit in awe of Marvel. I sit in awe of Disney, and you know, especially Pixar. Usually, this one feels like a Pixar movie just because of the feels. Oh. But great story. It's about this house that's like enchanted and the family that lives there, and they all were given special gifts, powers, except for Mirabel, and how she goes through life being the one in the family not special, quote unquote.
Sure.
And how she feels about herself, how the family feels about her, and then how that all kind of culminates when disaster strikes and all of that. I was personally really affected personally by this.
Okay.
I don't know that I've disclosed on here, but this past year I was diagnosed with autism, or on the autism spectrum disorder, with autism spectrum disorder. Still learning. So growing up feeling like the odd one out in a family is something that I have dealt with my whole life, and years of therapy. And this diagnosis finally made it all clear to me. And this totally touched me in this way of having those feelings, and then kind of finding out, no, you're special in your own way, and you have your own powers, and that sort of thing. So it was, I think a lot of people can really relate to the story.
You're going to really connect to it.
Because so many people feel like an outsider or whatever, I mean, especially in your own family.
And especially nowadays, this time that we're in, you know, whether you're on the spectrum or not, you feel like you're out of it.
Right.
You're not part of anything.
Right. Yeah. So it's the music. Oh my God. I mean, again, I don't know how a person can make up so many different songs. You know, I know that makes it sound so simple, but he does. And it's like, they're all fantastic and different and touching and telling a story. And all the performers were so wonderful. The colors are bright and lovely. Yeah,
that's the thing that got me, is this visually, this looks to me like, you know, I wasn't so much drawn in to Coco by the visuals, but once I was in the movie, that's what, man, it blew me away, the colors and the graphics and the visuals. And this one, just the trailer is like so visually stunning. I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, so the good news is this is going to be on Disney Plus on the 24th, Christmas Eve.
Well, we're watching it.
So we have our Christmas Eve movie.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, that's some pressure off. We've been fighting amongst... fighting.
Well, trying to figure out what we're going to do for the holiday and how we're going to spend time.
One of us is fighting, the other was not. About what to watch. About what to watch, and that takes the pressure off.
So everyone can enjoy it Christmas Eve or over the Christmas break. Watch with your family for sure, and enjoy. It's
and if you don't have Disney Plus, I mean, there's so much on there. You spend the $4.99 or $6.99 or whatever it is. Yeah. It's money well spent. You're gonna get a lot out of it, and it's just great.
Oh, there's so much.
Yeah.
Nonstop. Yeah. Okay, so that's Encanto.
Okay.
Next movie I'm going to talk about is actually a documentary. This was on HBO. It's called Adrienne. This is the documentary about Adrienne Shelley.
Adrienne. Sorry. Not.
Read the room, dude. No, I talk about her murder and you feel like crap.
Oh.
Yeah. Jeez. You are off today, man. So
I'll see myself out.
Yes, we need little doop 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 slam, like little sound effects.
Car starting and peeling out, and then a plane.
And then
okay.
And then you jump out of the plane.
Parachute back in. I'm back. Learn my lesson. Here I am again.
Oh my god. Okay.
Sorry.
Back to this because I want to be serious about this because I love her so much.
Sober up.
So this is a documentary that Adrienne Shelley's husband put together, Andy Ostroy, trying to just kind of give her due and her credit. So I don't know how much I've talked about the movie Waitress on here. I'm sure I have.
A fair amount.
It's in my top 10 favorite of all time. Waitress is just one of those movies that I immediately fell in love with the moment I watched it. And for those of you who don't know, Adrienne Shelley wrote and directed Waitress. She's also in the movie. But she was murdered before the movie ever came out. Actually, like 3 or 4 days after her murder, when the police contacted her husband to say that they had arrested the man who killed her, was the same day that he got notification that the movie was accepted into Sundance. So when everyone went to Sundance for this entry, I mean, you watch the pictures of everyone, the cast and her husband and all of her friends. I mean, everyone was just an absolute mess watching this movie. Anyway, so Adrienne had been in a lot of movies before that. She had written and directed a bunch of her own films, all small indie films and all of that. And Waitress ended up really becoming a huge deal. So much so that now it is this massive Broadway musical that Sarah Bareilles wrote the music for and everything. And he went to people who were standing in line for the musical saying, "Do you know who Adrienne Shelley is?" And they were like, "No." You know, like these people have never seen the movie and they're just going to see the musical because it's such a huge hit, which is great and lovely. And he just feels so bad that she's not able to see all of this coming to it. And the daughter was 3 years old at the time. And so the daughter's in this, and it's a lovely documentary talking about her whole life and her art, the work that she did before that. And it's a little bit about the murder because the police thought at first that she had killed herself because she was hanging from the shower, and he was like, "No, not possible." And so finally they discovered that it was true that wasn't the case, and they found the guy. It was just a construction worker who was doing work on another apartment in the building, and he was trying to get money out of her. And in this documentary, these 20 years later, whatever, he wrote the guy, the killer, Andy did, and he went to prison and confronted him. And not confronted, but he showed him pictures of Adrienne, showed him pictures of their daughter, and said, "This is the life you took and the life you ruined," and all that stuff. And the guy kept apologizing and told his story, and but there's no sympathy. It was an interesting meeting. But anyway, a lot of just friends sharing their stories, sharing the stories of him, the husband, going through this and having to raise this little girl, and him, how do you tell a little girl what's happening, and how much do they understand, and all of that. So I was a mess through the whole thing, but it's also really a beautiful, beautiful tribute to Adrienne Shelley and who she was. And you just wonder, after Waitress, what more great stories could she have told?
Yeah.
I know you don't like the movie. I don't understand it. I'm not sure what problem you have, but it's I don't know why. I guess maybe because, again, as someone who never wanted kids, like the whole vibe in the beginning of how, unhappy she is and she gets pregnant. And I don't know. I love the whole thing. And it's a totally like real kind of feminist movie without it being a feminist movie. And it's just wonderful. Everyone in it, Felicity,
yeah, Felicity.
Carrie Russell, Andy Griffith. He's just super great. I mean, Cheryl Hines is in it. Adrienne Shelley's in it. It's a great movie. If you haven't seen
plays her husband?
Jeremy. He's on FBI now.
Okay.
And they all give their interviews of being, of her
Jeremy
directing.
Sisto?
Yes.
Okay.
Of her directing and all that. Paul Rudd is in the documentary because he was actually really close with her. He was part of helping getting the movie made because he did readings and a whole bunch of stuff to get producers involved.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a really beautiful tribute. I'm sure it was very cathartic for him.
Sure, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oof, what a tough deal.
Yeah, talking to her mother and all that. I mean, yeah. So anyway, it's on HBO, so it's on HBO Max now. Called Adrienne. Very good. If you're any sort of fan, definitely something you have to watch.
And here's the deal. It's not that I don't like it. I
think you need to sit and watch it. I don't know that you've actually ever sat and watched the whole thing.
I haven't. Right. And here's why. I'll tell you why.
And Nathan Fillion, don't forget. Yeah, Dr. Pomander.
I forgot. It's hard for me to watch a woman in that situation, any woman in a situation like that doesn't leave, that doesn't get out of it. That's just the thing with me. That's a hard thing for me to sit and watch. That's it. I'm not saying.
But it's not a hard. It's not. Yes, there are moments of that, but the movie overall is a comedy.
I understand that.
And so, it's not like it's one of those really harsh, burning bed situations. So.
Well, no, and I'm not saying that it is, but I think that's my issue with it. That
okay.
Just turns
well,
me
then
off.
We should watch it.
We probably should, and I'm not saying I don't understand that, and that that happens all the time. I'm just saying that that's hard for me to sit through. That's it. Okay,
so that's Adrienne. Next one I'm going to talk about is The Unforgivable on Netflix. This is Sandra Bullock's latest movie. Who else is in it? Viola Davis is in it. There's a scene between her and Viola Davis that I was just like, I wanted to stand up and cheer. Just seeing the two of them going at it was just lovely. Anyway, this is a very dark movie. Very dark movie. The story is she gets out of prison after 20 years after killing a sheriff. And they took her 5-year-old sister away when she went to prison, obviously, and she hasn't had any contact with her sister. And when she gets out, she starts trying to find out where she is. She's really not allowed to contact her sister, but she befriends Viola Davis's husband, who's an attorney, and he gets her in contact with the adoptive parents and all this sort of stuff. Anyway, a lot of stuff happens. She's obviously hated. Everyone in this town seems to know that she killed a cop, and so she's hated. The cop's family is still out there hating her and trying to figure out if they're gonna take something into their own hands. How dare she be out after 20 years, all that stuff. Meanwhile, throughout all of that present day stuff, we're getting memories of what happened that day. And there's a huge twist as to what happened that day. And basically they were coming to take her house. They wanted to evict her. Her parents had died. She couldn't afford to keep the house with her sister, and they were trying to evict her. And so that's why the cops were entering her house and then ended up getting killed. So there's a huge twist on what really happens. There are some moral questions that leave you hanging. Would you behave this way? Would you do that? Would you do this? How would you handle things? What is family? That sort of thing too. She's really good in it. I felt like her voice was a little blah to me. She was like trying to have a deep voice, and just use your voice. That didn't make any difference. But it was good. It was just dark. It was fine paced though. Like I didn't get bored or anything like that. So it was a good telling of the story. Okay. But not like I wouldn't tell you to go watch it because it would be too much for
as
you.
Much as I love Sandra Bullock, I'll never watch that movie.
Yeah. So that's on Netflix, The Unforgivable.
Okay.
The next movie I watched is on Amazon Prime called Christmas is Canceled. This was one of those that I put on because I thought it was a silly, Hallmark type movie, and I would have never talked about on here. But then it turned into something really great, and so I was like, "Oh, I'm going to talk about this now." So it's Dermot Mulroney, Janelle Parrish, if people know Pretty Little Liars, she was on Pretty Little Liars, and Haley Arancia, she's on The Goldbergs. And the story is Haley and Dermot Mulroney are father and daughter. and she finds out that he, after 2 years of her mom passing away, he's now dating Janelle Parrish, who was like her high school nemesis, which sounds like a typical, Lifetime
sounds very
movie
Lifetime
that we've seen a million times, and
Yep.
it's always funny, and it's always, jokey and
Awkward.
whatever. Yeah. And it starts that way. I would say the first 45 minutes feel very obvious, feel very predictable, except that they didn't make Janelle Parrish's character ever like a mean girl. She was constantly trying to have the daughter understand. She was constantly trying to reach out, that sort of thing. So there wasn't really like the daughter's character the whole time was standing out on her own, of just like freaking out and being mean and being, not understanding the whole time because everyone else seemed to get it and all of that.
So the conflict was one-sided.
It was in the beginning. And then there was the real conflict where they all kind of had it out, and it got really real. There were good conversations. There were good kind of self-awareness in everyone. And it turned out to be just a lot more mature than those movies turn out to be. I don't know what it was, but all of a sudden I was like, the last 40 minutes I was enthralled, and I was like, I'm proud of this movie. I'm proud of this movie for taking such a great turn and like being so not cheesy about this, where it's just like the normal, oh yeah, right, I screwed up, now you guys can be together. It was a lot more of this. Again, the daughter character figuring out her own self and what her issues really were versus just being mad at them, and so it was interesting. So anyway, it was entertaining enough. It's on Amazon Prime, so it's free, and it's called Christmas is Canceled, and Dermot Mulroney still looks great, and it's just something that I thought I'd throw out there as a filler. I mean, we're going to have like over a week off. So I'm thinking people, if you also do, you're going to need suggestions of what to watch here. And that's one of them. It's pretty okay.
Okay.
Yeah. The last movie I'm going to talk about, I've already talked about on here, but finally I got you to talk about. It is nominated for Critics' Choice Awards. It is nominated for Golden Globe.
What?
Best Picture. And that is, you have no clue what I'm talking about. Wow. CODA.
Oh my God. Yes. Yep. Nope. Had no clue.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, the reveal is awesome.
Yes. So
yeah.
The nominees both came out one day, and I was like, oh, I just need you to watch. I'm so proud of this movie getting nominated, and I'm so proud of just the people who are involved in it. And I know I talked about it before, so it's called CODA, which stands for Child of Deaf Adults. The main star is Amelia Jones. Marlee Matlin's in it, and the father got nominated for acting as well. Which
he should have.
Troy Kotsur.
Yeah, he should have.
I mean, they're all so amazing.
Yeah.
So anyway, I already talked about how much I love this movie. You talk about what you think, because you haven't really told me much either.
Yeah, so I will not be able to put my finger on it, but this is one of the best movies I watched in a long time. It totally snuck up on me. I heard you talk about it, and I was intrigued and interested then, but I had no appreciation for the level of draw that this movie is going to have on me. And 10 minutes in,
yeah.
If you had tried to turn it off, we would have fought. Yeah, we would have wrestled for the remote, because I was just sucked in so quickly in the whole movie. There were no down points for me. There were no, me, and I think we've talked about enough. I do not like major situations of tension, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And there really isn't that. There's a couple moments that are, your hackles are up a little bit.
Normal family interactions.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's the one scene that kind of changes the direction of the movie a little bit out at sea.
Oh, right.
Where, I got really uncomfortable and tense, but I could deal with that because the movie was so good around it. And I cannot overstate how much I liked and really appreciate this movie.
Yeah.
This movie was so good for so many reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of it takes place because the 3 out of the 4 family members are deaf.
Right.
A lot of it is
subtitles.
There's a lot less dialogue in this,
right?
Compared to most movies, and it heightens something in me. It really. I was reading the subtitles, but I was also just
Watching
really
them.
reading the actors.
Yeah.
my God, they were all so amazing.
Yeah.
And the dad especially, he killed me.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, that scene I told you. Yeah, well,
Man.
and first, Amelia Jones is amazing. She's in Lock and Key as well. If you aren't watching that show, it's a good show. But her voice is so incredible.
Yeah.
Which was the first thing that drew me. I mean, I put this on and literally laid on the couch to nap. Like, that's what I thought I was going to do, was just nap while it was on. And it didn't happen. And like, as soon as that first opening scene where she's singing on the boat, I was like, oh, someone has a voice. Like, I'm going to pay attention to this. And then you meet the family. And what I love about this, and what I think I would love, I need to see more interviews, and it'll happen now on the red carpets with Marlee Matlin and stuff, because I think this is what she's been fighting for all her life, is to watch a deaf family that's quote unquote normal. I hate to use that word, but you know, like that they're having sex all the time, that they love each other, that they're having, you know, that the brother is on Tinder and he's doing whatever. Like, there's no, you know, we aren't, the only difference we see is that other people can't understand them. That's it. Yeah. But otherwise, you know, we're not seeing a handicap thing. And and that's what I also loved about this movie, was that it was just, you know, it's a family trying to get by, trying to make money, doing what they know how to do. And
you saw that they have added challenges.
Sure.
Right? But you also saw that outside of those actually minor challenges, really, that they're a typical family going through all the same things, and all the highs, the lows, the joys, the sadness, everything. And I think, to add on to what you're saying about what she always wanted to depict, it's that you know, deaf families, if all of them are deaf, they're the same. They're not special. They're not, you know, I think typical.
The mother's character I really like too, because she was withdrawn. You know, you could tell she didn't want to deal with the hearing people. She didn't want to she liked just staying in the house, because then the daughter was like, leave the house every once in a while. She was afraid of the, I don't know if afraid is the right thing, but she just didn't want to interact. She didn't want to put herself out there. But then by the end, when things change and all of that, it's lovely. Everything in this movie is lovely. And whether it's the beginning part or at the end when things have gone through their arc, it's all just wonderful to see. And it's such a lesson for any of us watching.
Yes.
That, you know, one, family supports each other no matter what, that you support your community no matter what, you know, and that you can help out people, and everyone's capable, and you know, all of those things. It's just so lovely. And
the big decisions you make for your family, and that your family makes for you. You know, that's really the bottom line here. And it's so beautiful.
Lots of tissues.
Yeah, it's just, it's really a beautiful movie.
It really is.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that it's nominated. Now, when we get to Oscars, it's probably not going to be in there. But
the fact that it's included, and that people will see it as they go through the nominees, people will see it and hopefully
go watch it.
You know, be like, oh wow, okay, it was nominated. I should go see it.
Yeah.
I cannot say enough good things about it and everybody involved.
Right. The day after you watched it, I got my parents to watch it, and my dad stayed awake for the whole thing, which that's the gauge.
That's big.
Because like 95% of movies, he falls asleep in the first 15 minutes. So that tells you that it's a story that they tell really well, and it's engaging because he stayed awake for it.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful and lovely, and everyone cried. And this is the one movie I think from this year that I will constantly be recommending to people.
Yes.
Over and over and over again. Go watch CODA. I mean, I've been trying since I watched it to get everyone else, and finally it just happened. I think the nominations helped some people. So I'm so glad you liked it. I knew you would.
Loved it. Yeah. Absolutely loved it.
So it's on Apple TV. So it's Apple TV Plus. So if you have that, obviously it's available to you. But definitely it's so worth it. Check it out.
Yep. 100%.
Anything else to say?
No, just stop listening and go watch it.
Okay. I'm going to switch to TV shows then.
Okay.
The first one I'm going to talk about is The Shrink Next Door. This is also on Apple TV Plus. This is with Will Ferrell and Paul Rudd. Casey Wilson's also in there. Here's what I'm going to say about this. So it's a true story. And of course, I've looked up the real story. This was also based on a podcast. I'll bet the podcast was really good now that I know the story. But basically, Paul Rudd plays this Dr. Ike, a therapist that Will Ferrell's character Marty goes to see back in the 80s. And over the course of 27 years, Dr. Ike manipulates him to where he cuts all ties with his sister. He manipulated his way in. Marty owned his own fabric business. This is all in New York City that his parents had started. Dr. Ike could manipulate his way in there just to get a salary and act like he was helping out employees. Marty had a house in the Hamptons that eventually Dr. Ike took over. Marty was sleeping in not the guest house. It's like a shed. And Dr. Ike and his wife were sleeping in the house. Their pictures were on the walls. Their name was on the mailbox by the end of it. For 27 years, Dr. Ike got Marty to open up like this charity thing that he put hundreds of thousands of dollars into that then Dr. Ike would spend and use. Just an incredible story that makes you wonder why, right? Like, how? And the thing is that the way it's portrayed here, and from what I've seen in the articles I've read, this guy Marty, is one of the sweetest people in the world, and was just, because of that, was just easy to take advantage of. He was also a lonely person, and Dr. Ike gave him this quote unquote friendship. Even though he still charged him for his therapy sessions, even though he still, but to Marty, especially after cutting off ties with his sister, who was his best friend, he needed this person in his life. And so he didn't really see it happen. It just kind of happened over time until eventually he started to see the cracks. And here's the thing, Paul Rudd, right? Who doesn't love him? I mean, he's the absolute best. He just on SNL last night, which was a weird thing, but he did great. I hated this guy in the show.
Yeah, it saddens me to know that Paul Rudd has played a villain.
Yeah, and he did it so well. And here's the thing. Here's what happened. Will Ferrell's playing Marty as this super sweet, lovely guy that we all just want to wrap this.
Yeah, you went out.
Okay, that we all just want to wrap our arms around and protect for everything, right? Like that's all we want to do. And Paul Rudd's playing this. He's not a sleaze. You can see it in him, right? He's not playing a sleaze. He's not like overtly where you could tell anything. He's just a typical guy, but you can see how he's manipulating him.
Yeah, a master manipulator.
Yeah. And you just hate him. And I've never thought I could hate Paul Rudd in anything. But man, and luckily it's only while I'm watching that, because then I can turn anything else on and I'm like, okay, Paul Rudd, you're still good. But man, I just the feeling where you just want to climb into the TV and just punch him and just get away from this Marty, and it's just awful. So finally, by the time he came around, he cut Ike out of his life. He got back with his sister, and just this past year, he had filed a complaint to the board. I think like in 2016, 2017, something like that. Finally this year, it came to, what review or whatever. And Ike lost his license because other people actually came forward too, that they had given him money and done things and whatever. And so, I mean, he's it's about 40 years of him having a license and being able to do this stuff, but very interesting. It's just one of those, and I think that's why the podcast would be really fascinating because again, we can all look at it. It's kind of like that cult thing, right?
Yeah.
How do people join a cult, and how do they really let their brain get them there?
Sure. And
so you kind of watch this, and it's so small in the beginning. It's just, little things here and there, and then all of a sudden, his life is gone.
Yeah, it's the frog in the boiling water principle, right?
For sure.
You put them in warm water and they're fine. You slowly turn it up and they're going to stay in the water because they don't. The time change is so subtle,
right?
That pretty soon the water is boiling and they're like, oh crap,
right. And they both, again, this is almost, something we've never seen Will Ferrell do before. He's fantastic in this, trying to stay very sweet, lovely, almost invisible type thing. And then Paul Rudd playing this just manipulator. It's both of them, kind of outside of their boxes, and they were both just fantastic.
I can picture, so I've made progress on Will Ferrell. So I can picture him playing a sweet, innocent guy much easier than I can picture Paul Rudd playing
for sure
a manipulator.
Right. Yeah. It's tough.
I don't like the sound of it. I don't like it.
So it's only 8 episodes. Really good story, very interesting, very fascinating. And worth checking out. It's Shrink Next Door. It's on Apple TV Plus.
The good news with Paul Rudd is you just immediately turn the channel to something else, and he's going to be on something else that redeems him.
Well, like I said, I watched him last night on SNL, and I'm in love. So it's all good.
Paul Rudd's on every channel all the time.
Pretty much, yeah. Okay, next thing I'm going to talk about is hopefully just a small thing, but the show on Fox was The Big Leap. You had watched the first 3 or 4.
Yeah.
The season ended. It ended with a really good hook into a second season. It's not going to get a second season. I'm sure it's going to be canceled. But I just wanted to bring it up because this was like a really lovely, but also funny, but also satire on, reality shows, like competition shows. It was just a really cool mix of a whole bunch of stuff, and great characters on there, great storylines. TV Scott Foley was fantastic in it.
I don't like him playing a bad guy either, but
he didn't. Though. He actually didn't. You missed a lot of stuff. So
all right,
he didn't. But it was really cool, and I think it's still worth it for anyone to go back and watch those 10 episodes or whatever it was, because it was fun. It was a feel-good show. And I just wanted to talk about it because I'm not going to be surprised that it's canceled, but I think if they gave it a little bit more something, it could come back and I'd be fine. So,
yeah. I mean, to me, that's a perfect candidate for move it to Peacock and open it up a little bit. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I just, if you're looking for something to watch, it is a feel good show, and just know that it's probably those episodes and nothing else.
What's that guy's name? The star, the lead, not Scott Foley, the one of the singers, John
from Jumanji?
No.
Singers.
Yeah, he's a performer.
Oh.
He's not a performer. He's an actor. He was in the guy who had a thing with Piper Perabo.
John Rudnetsky or
That's
whatever.
it.
Yeah, from SNL.
I really like him.
Yeah, I love him.
Yeah.
He was just on a couple episodes of Curb Your Enthusiasm. He was really funny in that.
Yeah.
He's from SNL. He only was on there for one season, and then he did that movie Home Again with Reese Witherspoon.
That's where I saw him. I didn't even know he was on SNL.
Yeah, he was good on SNL.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, he was great on this.
Yeah.
Because they ended up, Piper Perabo left the show, and so,
Yeah, and that to me, I think I watched 3 episodes, and by the 3rd episode, I was really watching it to see what Scott Foley, TV Scott Foley, and he was gonna do.
Yeah, for sure. It was good though. All the characters were really good. Sure. They rounded out a lot of them really well over the whole course of the thing, which was great, and they finished up everyone well. But there really is, they left it open for a good second season if anyone wanted to pick it up. So we'll see.
Okay.
And that was on Fox, so probably on Hulu, I guess now.
Why did I think that was on NBC?
No.
That's why I said Peacock.
Yeah.
Okay.
So next show I wanted to talk about was Ghosts.
Yeah.
We know it was an English show. And again, I think we had 10 episodes or something of this on here. It's CBS though, so they'll probably renew the show. I'm not sure. But we were watching this show together, so I thought we'd talk about it.
Sure.
Stars Rose McIver, who she's been on a lot of things, and of course I'm blanking now. The iZombie, that was the main one, where I just loved her on that show.
Yeah.
So this is where a couple, it's Utkarsh, what's his name? From Freestyle Love Supreme.
I want to say it was Car.
No, it's Utkarsh. I just don't know his last name.
Apologize.
they buy this, or she inherits this old house, and there are ghosts, and she hits her head, and now she can see the ghosts. And it's just their lives living with these ghosts that
only she can see.
And the ghosts are funny.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a wide variety of ghosts.
Yeah.
Different backgrounds.
That they all died in this house over the centuries.
Yeah, and over the centuries. That's the thing. There's a Viking, there's a Native American, there's a colonial woman, Victorian woman. Yeah,
60s,
Revolutionary
80s
War
guy,
soldier,
yeah.
captain, whatever. And yeah, just a wide variety of ghosts, and you know, they're
a singer from the 20s.
Yeah,
They've covered a lot, and they're funny.
Yeah.
And through the episodes, we kind of learn more about the ghosts.
Yeah.
And their background, and you know, I don't know like what is, because again, I didn't watch the English version, and I've thought about going back and watching it because I don't know what you keep doing. You know, I don't know how you keep it going and keep it fresh.
Yeah, this isn't a show that has. You know,
I think there's 3 seasons to theirs.
Oh man, I can't even imagine what they're going to do then, because I mean, eventually you think they're going to open, right? Because they're trying to turn
it into a B&B. Yeah.
B&B, so eventually you're going to open, and that opens up to all kinds of stuff, I guess. But
true.
But you know, it does seem a little bit limited, but it's been fun so far. It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun, and so I just wanted to bring it up because it is fun.
Mm-hmm.
But you know.
It's
something to watch.
It's fun, but if it got canceled, I'd be like, okay.
Right.
You know,
right.
It's unfortunate. It probably would have been more fun.
If it gets canceled, then I might go and watch the English version.
Sure.
Just to see what the difference was.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Next thing I wanted to talk about is available only on the Roku channel, so you have to have a Roku to watch it, but we had to finish it out, and that was Zoey's Extraordinary Playlist, the Christmas special. So as everyone knows, after 2 seasons, the show was canceled by NBC, and Roku picked it up to do this 2-hour movie to finish out the show. And we loved the show. So we had to watch it, and we picked it up where it's Christmas time. Zoe's dealing still with the death of her dad, and how's she going to handle Christmas? How's the whole family going to handle Christmas? And that's kind of it. It's all just a big thing for Christmas, really.
Yeah.
And her still hearing everyone's heart songs and what they're going through. I felt like it was a good conclusion. You know, was it gimmicky to do like around Christmas? Yeah, but I guess that's what the schedule called for, really. You know?
I think it served a couple things. It gave the people that were really into the show and liked the show and wanted more of the show, it gave them another 2-hour episode that they knew was going to be it. So they knew going into it, this is going to be it, right? And it was more of the same. It was very much on point with the rest of the show. It wasn't revolutionary, and it was a good closure to me.
Well, I also feel like they realized, hey, the first season was great. I mean, the first season is one of those perfect seasons that I've said over and over again when we talk about this. Go watch the first season, and if you don't feel like watching the second, that's fine. But I think they realized, hey, the first season was so great. Why? Because of her father. And so they kind of brought that back to the foreground of the whole thing. And so the first Christmas without the father of the family, what is the widow going to do? What are the kids going to do? How do you celebrate? How do you not celebrate? Do you skip it? Do you do this? And so there was all of that going on that I think really, again, in the first season was the best part of the show, of her and her relationship with her dad, and that kind of you know, and so bringing back Peter Gallagher,
that was huge.
Great.
That was very smart.
Yes,
that was the thing I liked the most, for
sure. I think, but again, we did see all of the characters kind of trying to move on, do things with their lives, and then kind of coming back going, no, right now we're still doing this or whatever. And but at the end realizing they're still a family and they're still together and they've got their friends and all of that. And so it was a lovely little ending all put together.
Yeah, and I think it was a good take on the dangers of continuing traditions through kind of a pressure, right? I mean, you know, the whole thing was about her wanting to have a perfect Christmas based on everything they used to do, and kind of trying to force it in that things had changed to the point where they were just never going to have the same Christmas they used to have.
Right.
And her unwillingness through most of the show
Right.
to change, to deviate from that.
Right, which was always her.
Mm-hmm.
She always, you know, was trying to, like when they went to go look at the stars, and, you know, she was always trying to exactly relive whatever she did with her father.
Right.
And I think that is a pitfall that people run into, and, you know, traditions just become chores.
Yeah.
Instead of finding your new stride or whatever it is. And yeah, so it's look, this was always a good show. And the music was always poignant and wonderful, and even so in this, you know, not Christmas songs, you know, they were still just very, didn't you say it was a Pink Floyd song in the beginning?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wish You Were
I
Here.
mean, it was all just very
surprising.
well done.
It was very.
It's always been well done.
It was very well done. You know, you think about. I mean, Mary Steenburgen she's not a singer, but she
Right.
can really sing, perform. But the rest of them aren't really. Well, I mean, Skylar Astin is a singer, but you know, they're not performers per se. They're actors, and to see the choreography that they do,
Right.
and it's not. It's not hokey. It's not gimmicky. It's furthering the story.
Right.
It really is a thing.
Yeah.
It really is a pretty good thing.
Yeah, it's not an easy thing to do.
Right.
You know,
right.
it's this was truly a musical show with songs we know, which is really hard. You know, a musical is defined as where the songs further the story of the show. And to just put in a Pink Floyd song, you know, a lot of times when that happens, like in Glee or something, it's not really furthering the whole story. It's like, oh, well, we just got the rights to the song, let's stick it in.
Yeah.
And this show, with the choreography, the songs, all of the performances, it's always just been just right.
Yeah, I mean, to put Wish You Were Here from Pink Floyd in right at that moment in the story was perfect, because it told that part of the story perfectly.
Right, exactly.
And
yeah.
especially the way they did it. It was really well done. So, yeah.
Loved it. But they brought Bernadette Peters back, which was lovely. And it was it's great. And so if you're a fan of the show, definitely figure out if you have Roku to go watch it. And yeah, good ending. I wish the show was continuing, honestly, but
yeah,
I'll take it. I'll take what we got.
Yeah.
And be good with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Last show I'm going to talk about.
Okay.
Is on Peacock. This is Amy Poehler and Nick Offerman's second show. Instead of making it, this is baking it.
A big old bake.
Big old bake. The Master Bakers. No. So this one, Maya Rudolph and Andy Samberg host, and Andy always wanted to give them the winning title of the Master Baker, but they didn't allow that. This was the essence of making it, to me at least. They brought on 8 teams in the beginning.
I think it was 8. Yeah.
Teams of 2 people. So there were sisters, there was father and son, there's a married couple, there were a few married couples, you know, just friends, best friends, whatever.
Sure.
And they would bake whatever the challenge was, and then they were judged by 4 grannies.
Yeah.
Now the 4 grannies are all reputable bakers in their own right and all of that, but they were grannies, and they would win brooches if they won the
that was their weekly prize.
Yes, was a brooch. You know how on Making It they get a patch.
Yeah.
This time they got a brooch. And it was just as lovely as Making It. These
fun.
people were so sweet. The bakers were all lovely people, and just they got along with each other again, which is part of what we loved about Making It. Was there's no real competition. They baked some good stuff.
Yeah.
My favorite part was the judging. I loved hearing what the grannies had to say, and they were good judges. And I cried still when people got kicked off.
Yeah.
And actually, my favorite part was actually Maya and Andy. I you know, they're some of my favorite people and can do no wrong, and so I was laughing.
Well, if you like Maya Rudolph and Andy Samberg, you're gonna love this show.
Yes,
because it's them in it a lot, doing what they do.
Right.
It's them.
Yes.
So it was good from that. I'm coming around on Andy Samberg. I am. I like Maya Rudolph. Always have.
Well, he had the Santa Buddies jokes. So.
Yeah, I forgot about that, and I claimed it for myself, but it was clearly Andy
It was
Samberg.
Andy Samberg
That started it.
Yeah. So anyway, it's all the episodes are streaming on Peacock. I think it was only 8 episodes.
Yeah.
It's just nice, good-hearted, good feeling watching. It didn't make me as happy as Bake Off, but I would say it's a definite second to that.
And they're definitely taking a cue from Bake Off, because most American cooking challenges, contests, I don't know if they intentionally put jerks in there to stir the pot, or it just, there are so many jerks around that they can't help but get them in there. But all of these people are nice, and it's really still refreshing to see an American contest show where everybody gets along and nobody's trying to stab each other in the back and that sort of thing. And I applaud that, because you don't need that to have a contest,
right?
It's really about all the teams doing the best they can, and it's not about artificially tearing somebody down or ganging up on a team. It's really refreshing, and it's a lot of fun.
Right,
it's just fun.
It's fun. I give the credit though to Amy Poehler that's what she wants.
Right.
That's the content she wants to put out there. She doesn't want the mean and all of that. So yeah, it's definitely that kind of feeling where you're not, that they're all helping each other, that they're all calling each other friends, that by the end, all 3 teams were like, well, if we don't win, one of our friends are winning, so we're thrilled for them. And it's like, oh my God, that's the best thing you could ever ask for. I mean, I
hate to use the term wholesome, but it really kind of is, and it's really sweet.
Yes.
It really is.
Yeah. And you put the grannies in it, and they have to give everyone a hug before they leave. And, and the grannies were crying having to say goodbye to people.
It's a feel-good show.
It really is.
Yeah.
And there's good baking, too. So
some of the stuff these people come up with, it's still
it was all holiday-themed stuff,
Right.
so it's very Christmassy.
Right.
So, again, to watch with your family in the next couple of weeks while you're baking cookies or something, it's just a lot of fun. So, yeah.
Yep.
So that's Baking It on Peacock.
Okay.
All right. So done with that. Now I'm going to move on to what I think are some underrated Christmas movies. I could be way off. If I am, leave your comment below. No, really reach out and let us know if I missed something or if there's something else you think. But I think everyone knows what we consider to be classics, at least the ones that are on all the time now. The Santa Clauses, the Grinches, Christmas Vacation, Christmas Story, right? Those are the things that when people start to go, or Elf, what's your favorite Christmas movie? These are those are the top probably, ones that everyone comes up with that they watch all the time. And I'm right in there with you. I watch those all the time too, but I also watch these all the time. And if I don't get to see them, Love Actually is also in there. If I don't get to see these, then I will make sure I go and download them so that I can still watch them, which I had to do with the first one the other day because it wasn't coming on TV anywhere.
No.
So
okay.
Yeah. So let's see. Home Alone 2. That's another. Everyone always does that.
I think. Okay.
What?
I don't want to say anything controversial.
Now?
Well, I guess it's
it's a little late.
Guess it's no dyslexia, but sorry.
Oh my God.
Sorry. I've always thought the Home Alones were overrated.
So I've only seen the first one. I've never seen the others, so I wouldn't know. But the first one is a classic. I just watched it the other day, and I still cry at the end. I always loved movies as a kid where a kid got left alone. I think that was my dream. So when he wakes up and he's like, cool, my family's gone. That's kind of how I always felt I wanted. And then he gets to go shopping by himself and he gets to do all this stuff. I love that. Now I was a little older. I think only a year or two older than him. So, but I loved that. And then it's and then he realizes, oh no, I do need my family, and all this stuff comes in and the old guy next door, and I just love it so much. But the other two I don't understand, because again, it's the same wet bandits in the second one, but now they're in New York, and I haven't seen it, so I don't understand how that all culminates together. But okay.
Well, no, not okay. It shouldn't have happened.
And the third one's with a completely different kid.
Yeah, well, that.
But I did tell you I watched this latest one, which was also weird. So, and that one didn't work at all. But anyway, so.
Okay. I'll just be quiet.
What I think are underrated movies. Now, most of these are also not that typical, and maybe that's why they are underrated. Typical jolly, holly, Christmas in your face type thing. Some of these get to be a little depressing.
Christmas in your face.
In your face. I threw it on the ground. So, first one on this list was one that I had to download the other day called Love the Coopers. I love this movie. I don't know. I think it doesn't get a lot because it's kind of depressing all the way up until the end. Well, but supposedly so is It's a Wonderful Life. So, I'm going to stand on that hill. But this has everyone. It's John Goodman, Diane Keaton, Olivia Wilde, Team Sudeikis. Who else? Marissa Tomei.
Yeah.
Timothy Chalamet's in there. I mean,
it's a who's who. It's another.
It's everyone. Oh, Alan Arkin and Amanda Seyfried. Their storyline is so great.
Yeah.
So it's so good. It's about just this family, the Coopers, and what they're going through, and the Diane Keaton and John Goodman are getting a divorce, but no one knows until after Christmas. And Steve Martin narrates this as Rags the dog. Steve Martin is the dog, and he's narrating what's going on in this family. And the way the narration happens, which again, maybe it's just my love of Steve Martin. I love the way he tells the story, and it's just, it's one of those good ones. Anthony Mackie's in it, and it's just a good story about these really, fleshed out characters that we feel like we know. And so with any of these, we can kind of look at it and go, oh, okay. But then, again, it all comes back to family at the end. Everyone's together, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I just love it. And so, if you have a chance to watch it, it's definitely worth it. Just know it's not, it's not the feel good kind in the beginning. That's all I'm saying.
There's some stuff to go through to get to the payoff.
Exactly. Yeah. But that's what I love, I guess, is the realness of that versus just all of a sudden a happy family.
I think that's one of our big differences.
Yeah.
I don't like to go through that.
Yeah. Real life. So that's Love the Coopers. The next one I wanted to talk about is The Family Stone. This is Diane Keaton as well, but it's oh shoot, I just had his name. Coach
Judd Nelson.
No.
Judd Nelson. Craig T. Nelson.
Thank you.
Judd Nelson. Whoa.
Wow. That's a blast from the past.
Oh boy.
Craig T. Nelson, Diane Keaton, Rachel McAdams, Luke Wilson, Dermot Mulroney, Sarah Jessica Parker, Claire Danes.
It's another who's who.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this again is the family. Dermot Mulroney is bringing Sarah Jessica Parker home for the holidays. First time she's meeting them, and she's like this stuck-up, rigid woman, of course, from Connecticut. And this is like this very liberal. I think they're in Maine or something. Very liberal family that she's walking into, and I'll tell you, it's difficult at first. When I first watched this movie, I was like, what is this? Why am I watching this? Because she's so horrible. She makes racist comments. She makes homophobic comments. She makes all these things that pisses off the family and eventually pisses off Dermot Mulroney. And you're just like, what is this? Why am I watching this? And why am I supposed to like this person whatsoever? But people have, ways of, I guess, shielding themselves from things, all that sort of stuff. And so her sister is Claire Danes. She shows up. That helps to bring her out a little bit. And things happen on this Christmas Eve that change the course of people's lives. And again, we come back to Christmas Day and reality of life hits but then again you come back with your family and what's really important. right?
Mhm.
So
Right.
it's another one of those that's it's tough in the beginning and not so Christmassy feeling, but when you watch it, and I've watched it many times now, it is one of my favorites now. I get it now, so I don't know, but I just wanted to point it out because it is one of my favorites that I do watch every year. So
Okay.
next one I wanted to talk about is Jingle Jangle. This just came out a couple years ago on Netflix. This is the musical. I'm going to always talk about this as underrated because I have no clue if people are watching it or not, since Netflix doesn't really let us know. And I think it's one of the best Christmas musicals out there. And so I love it. I've already watched it once. I hope we watch it again maybe this week.
I'm looking forward to watching it this week because or next week, I guess, because I've only watched it the one time.
Yeah.
And you're talking about it, and I remember, I got such a crappy memory, but and I remember liking it. I remember really liking it, but I couldn't tell you a thing about it.
Oh, okay.
So I need to watch it again.
Yeah, it's a very steampunk, basis and great cast and great music and a great story about finding your happiness, and it's so well done. And so it's on Netflix, called Jingle Jangle. Every family should watch it. It's just wonderful. So that's that. Next one that also came out a couple years ago is Noel. This is on Disney Plus. Again, I think sometimes the streaming ones now, since they aren't on TBS every day, they aren't getting watched as much. I've watched Noel though all year long. I really fell in love with this movie because I think Anna Kendrick just does a great job. She's funny in it, and she's very good at playing that kind of character. She's Santa's daughter, and then Santa dies, and Bill Hader is her brother who's supposed to become Santa, and she has to go and try and help him become Santa and stuff. And again, a very feel-good movie. We just watched it. Or you came in while I was watching it.
Probably caught the last 3/4.
Yeah. That's a joyful movie. That's one of those that I feel like are like Elf and Santa Clauses and those, because it's very Christmassy. It's Christmas in your face.
Yep.
And then, but it's that kind of the whole time. It's very joyful and lovely and fun.
The situations of tension aren't really that tense.
Exactly. Shirley MacLaine's in it. How can you go wrong with that?
Yeah. She is the tension. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Love you, Cheryl.
It's so cute. It's so
cute.
Definitely go watch Noel on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
I put this as an underrated only because it feels like it was on all year long, and in the last 2 months it hasn't been on. The Holiday.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why isn't this on? This has to be a Christmas one I watch every year. And I watch it all year long. I mean, you and I both do.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite holiday movies.
It's a favorite movie.
Yeah, it's right.
Really?
It's up there.
Yeah. So, if you haven't watched it, Cameron Diaz and Jack Black and Kate Winslet.
Jude Law. Yes. And
they switch houses from England and LA, and they live their lives, and it's great and fun, and typical rom-com, but
chance meeting lead to budding relationships, and and
it all happens over the week of Christmas, which is also part of the problem with it. Is like a lot of the stuff couldn't happen in just 1 week, but I let it go because it's a good movie. So, but anyway, The Holiday, I don't know if it's underrated or not, but I'm not sure that people include it in that list of like classic Christmas movies.
I would agree with you that it's underrated because it's not one of the ones you hear about.
Right.
It's
exactly.
on a lot.
Yes.
But you don't hear other people talking about it or referring to it or recommending it.
Right.
Which to me means it is underrated because it is such a good movie.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Next one is Surviving Christmas. I think people hated this movie. I think it was like a flop. I think, no one paid attention to it. But if you watch it, you'll love it. It's Ben Affleck and James Gandolfini and Catherine O'Hara and Christina Applegate. And Ben Affleck is like this rich douchebag, blah, 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 blah. And he's struggling at Christmas, like his girlfriend dumped him or whatever. And so he wants to like go back to his childhood because he had good Christmases back then. So he finds his childhood home. James Gandolfini and they all live there. And so he pays them. He writes a contract and pays them like $100,000 or whatever, and is like, just let me be part of your family this Christmas. And you got to do what I would do. Well, this family's going through their own crap. Like, they're not getting along. They're going through a possible divorce. Christina Applegate is the daughter who comes home for Christmas. It's like, why is this dude in our family for Christmas? And it's about him, again, reconnecting with what's important, reconnecting with whatever, at the same time helping this family do the same thing at Christmas time. It's actually lovely. It's funny. There's a lot of funny stuff. I mean, with Catherine, hello.
James Gandolfini and Catherine O'Hara, I'm assuming, are married?
Yes.
Yeah, that would...
It's good, though. It works. And they have another brother, a little brother that's there. And the way Ben Affleck just interacts with them and stuff, it's funny. And it's also a very, very feel good at the end. And, so I put it on this list because I don't know if I know anyone else who's ever even seen it.
I have not.
Yeah.
I'm willing to see it.
It's worth it. It really is.
Put it on the list for next week.
Okay.
Sure.
Also not sure if it's entirely underrated, but I put The Last Holiday on here with Queen Latifah. We love this movie. I know we watch it all the time. I do watch it all year long, and I think that's why maybe it's forgotten as a Christmas movie. But this is where she's mistakenly told she's going to die in 2 weeks, and so she goes to Karlovy Vary and the Grand Hotel Poop to blow her money and live her life in those last couple weeks. And I love this movie. She's just fantastic, and Gerard Depardieu.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a good movie. I would say, again, it's kind of like The Holiday in that it's such a good movie, and you never hear anybody talking about it.
Not as a Christmas movie, definitely. Yeah.
And well, not even, I never hear anybody talking about it. Yeah. I mean, it's a really good movie. It's really cute, really sweet. Queen Latifah is just amazing.
Oh, she's so good.
So good. And you never hear anybody talk about it. So I 100% agree it's underrated.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. Next one I think I've talked about before is my favorite Christmas movie.
Mixed Nuts?
Mixed Nuts.
Yep. There you go.
Definitely underrated because I don't think anyone likes this movie. But Steve Martin, again, if he ever listened to this, he would think I've got an issue. Well, I do. I have an issue. I love him.
I don't think that's the issue you think it is. I don't think he'd mind hearing that.
He can do no wrong. But Steve Martin, Rita Wilson, Juliette Lewis, Liev Schreiber, Adam Sandler. A young baby little Adam Sandler. Yeah. A young Liev Schreiber.
Yeah. In drag.
A cross-dressing Liev Schreiber.
Yeah.
I love this movie. And what's her face? Flames from the side of my face.
I don't know that reference.
I know, because you haven't seen Clue. Hello.
Oh,
Yes. Anyway, so everyone's funny in this. Steve Martin runs a suicide hotline at Christmas time, and they're about to get evicted, and it's just, there's too much to even go into and talk about. It's funny, even though that doesn't sound like it should be funny. I love the people, and it's all feel good, and it's classic, like LA, Venice, they're in Venice Beach, and weird, characters, and just silly, and Mixed Nuts.
Yeah. And you finally got me to watch it, I think last year or the year before. And it was good. It's a good movie. It's a good movie. It's one of those, I think
you have to be in the right mind space.
It's not something you just sit down and watch. You have to understand what you're getting into. And you also have to understand you may have to watch it a time or two.
Yes.
To really pick up on everything and to appreciate it.
The timing to me is like a play. Mm-hmm. It's very. It feels like you're watching a play.
Yeah.
And so I think if you think of it that way,
a lot of moving parts to it.
Yes, there are.
There's something always in action.
Yes.
And it's one of those. where there's just something going on the screen all the time while somebody else is talking or something.
Yes. Yeah.
So you gotta pay it. Almost have to pay attention.
Yeah.
To it.
There's a lot of story going on.
Yeah. Yes. Yep.
Okay, so that's Mixed Nuts. And the last one I want to talk about is The Ref. Another one that I love to watch. Dennis Leary and Kevin Spacey. but we'll move past that. And he breaks into a house on Christmas Eve, and the couple, they are just horrible to where the burglar, Dennis Leary, is just like, shut up, what's wrong with you people? You know, it becomes this whole thing where again, it's set at Christmas. It is about Christmas because then their family shows up, and you know, but very annoying people, but in an awkward situation, in a different situation, but again, Christmas kind of overpowering everything and that sort of thing. It's funny. It's just funny.
Okay.
Good awkward situation comedy for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can't go wrong with the cast. It's all good.
Well,
you can now,
can
but back
go
then,
wrong with Kevin Spacey.
but he's actually really funny in it, and is kind of a jerk anyway. So you know, we can deal with that for now.
Yes.
But anyway, so those are my underrated Christmas movies. Did I miss any that you can think of?
I don't think so. We talked about this briefly before doing this, and I can't come up with any others. I'm sure they're out there.
I'm sure. So yeah, if we've not thought of any that you love, or even some of the, I've named so many classics. Die Hard, of course, I already watched that.
That's not underrated though.
No, it's not at all.
I think as far as underrated goes, I think you did a really good job at capturing them.
I think so. There's, you can go online now with all these streaming services and go to their holiday category, and they'll have some. So like Gremlins now is always on the list because it takes place at Christmas time, and it's like,
okay.
And I heard someone making an argument about the Die Hard thing, and they're like, would the situation take place even if it weren't Christmas? That's how you can decide if it's a Christmas movie or not, right? And with Die Hard, after hours, the employees wouldn't be there if they weren't there for the Christmas party.
Right.
So that kind of has to happen at that time. And with that, because otherwise why else would those people ever be in that building, right? So that made more sense to me. But there's like, and now it feels like if you go on these lists, if Christmas even happens during the movie, like it appears in the list, right? Like Lethal Weapon or some of these that are just like, okay, now you're stretching it a little bit. Let's get back to maybe corralling some of these things. But, I don't know.
Yeah.
Some of the great television shows you can also go on. I love that Peacock and I think HBO Max in their holiday sections, they have also pulled out classic television episodes from each show. So all the Friends ones or Fresh Prince or they've got all these shows and so they've pulled out all the holiday specials, which is a lot of fun as well. So you can just go and watch those. So that's all cool.
Yes.
But anyway, I hope you all get to watch your favorites.
Yes. And try some of ours.
Yeah. And don't yell at me if you just get depressed by them. That's what I can hear a lot of people going, that was depressing. But again, I thought from what I've heard, It's a Wonderful Life is depressing too until the end. So
it's
he's going to kill himself, right?
It's not overly uplifting.
Yeah, so
yeah.
We're all in this together.
That's right. It's been going on a long time, people.
Yes. Anyway, so we will be back then probably around New Year's, I guess.
Probably.
And we'll see if we've watched any of these things. But until then, I'll be watching my stories.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a safe and lovely holiday, whatever you do. And we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Sounds good.
Okay. Bye.